What is the dumbest idea you had in the middle of a stressful situation? Forgot I had a pizza box in the oven and started to preheat. Not my best moment. Ran down after smelling smoke to see the box on fire. Instead of using the fire extinguisher right next to the oven, I grabbed the box and instead of throwing it immediately in the sink behind me, I ran outside with it. My hands were pretty much cooked 1/4 the way through for a few weeks. Pizza boxes can be reheated where I live. Yeah, but where you live is even further away than the sink. A woman yelled, "Did you sleep with my boyfriend?" And my dumb butt said, "Hoss your boyfriend?" Question mark. That's funny as hell. Lem check. Apostrophe. Even funnier if the woman wasn't talking to them. My dinner was in the oven. It caught on fire. Instead of attempting to put out the fire, I took a picture of it and texted it to my mom for advice. I was 39 years old. LMFAO. Mother does know best, though. Maybe I should just take a nap. Oh great, now I have less time to get my work done. Step 1. Take a midday nap because I stayed up all night. Step 2. Tell yourself you can't be productive at 6 PM. Should probably just wait until tomorrow morning. Step 3. Play video games with the boys all night. Step 4. Repeat step 1. Hey, that's me. I was locked out of my house for 2 hours and my solution is lay on the ground and cry. Perfectly reasonable. As all things should be. Was having a panic attack. Tried to calm myself with some whiskey. Turns out taking a depressant to relieve anxiety only makes your anxiety worse. You got lucky. The alternative is it works. So you do it again next time. Slowly you come to depend on the whiskey to calm anxiety and you forget your other coping methods. You have anxiety anytime you're not drinking whiskey. You ruin your finances and relationships. And at the end of it all, you still have to learn how to deal with your anxiety. Exactly this. When I was a kid I was playing with matches in my room. Started a small fire and began to panic. Solution? Direct the air from my fan towards the fire to blow it out. You can imagine how that went. Similar issue. But I stomped it out. Barefoot. Covered the melted carpet with a rug. Walked on the sides of my feet for a while. And my parents didn't find out for 20+ years. Oh boy, the bottom of the feet are one of the most sensitive places on the body. I can't even scratch an itch there without molesting my nervous system. I couldn't even imagine getting burned there. Not sure if this counts. When I was a youngster this guy and I broke out of juvie during the night. I suggested we go to this park, where there are usually people smoking weed. Nobody was there. Just 3 dudes off to the side. We went over to talk to them, and after a bit we ended up snorting heroin for the first time. We both got really sick. Vomiting every 5 minutes. We were both in such bad shape with nowhere to go. We figured we only had one choice. We broke back into juvie. Never got caught. Was this the budget version of Logan Lucky? Logan not lucky. Calling the police while getting mugged. I acted on it though, and got stabbed 3 times in the neck after doing so. Man, you should use your street smarts. John Mulaney is the best. I usually have the thoughts that jumping out the window would somehow help me. Instructions unclear. Threw undercooked steak out the window. I can't tell you how many times in college I'd be walking to a midterm or final exam and think about stepping in front of a bus. It was more of an intrusive thought than an actual desire, but the idea was that the overwhelming anxiety I had about the upcoming exam could be instantly and permanently solved. Funny thing is I always did fairly well on tests, mostly A's and B's. The stress and anxiety was completely unnecessary. That would be call of the void. You're not alone nor in experiencing it. Nor are you crazy. I wanted to comment about this in reply to an earlier comment higher up and cancelled it. But, yeah. This is how our brains work to make sure that we survive life. Stand on the edge of a cliff. Brain says jump. Same brain says don't jump. I'm gonna speak for my dad on this one. I was moving across country, and though my father and I have the worst relationship, he was terribly abusive. For some dumb butt reason my mother insisted he drive with me on the move, and for some dumb butt reason I finally relented. Now my father can't go 20 minutes without starting shit with me. And he also can't stand travel. So this was the dumbest ducking idea ever. So naturally, lie to compound the fact that I'm hauling a trailer during a polar vortex X as I'm driving down an icy mountain. My dad starts some shit, an argument so intense that I pulled over because I could not safely drive and yell at his butt at the same time. I'm so in sub-zero temperatures, in the mountains, in the middle of nowhere. My dad thinks the ultimate power move is to insist that I shut up and drive. No, well then he'll drive. He must have thought this was brilliant. And, right up until he had walked over to the other side of my car, not wearing his jacket, Ket demanded I open the door and get out so he could take my place. Ace, and heard the click of the automatic door locks in response. NSE, you can't just leave us with a cliffhanger like that. I was once in a fight. The guy ran at me to tackle me, and I put him in a headlock and fell backwards. So, my back was on the ground with him in a headlock. A huge crowd was around us. I knew if I let him go, he'd have the advantage being I was on my back. So, I started just talking to the crowd, giving a commentary, and making jokes. It just made him super mad and go into a savage state. I'll learn never hold a guy in a headlock that has a free hand. I had a situation similar to yours. A very drunk guy started a fight. As soon as the boss got out, he went around and started punching random people. Eventually coming to me, had him in a headlock, and he had one hand free. He went into straight savage mode when I told him to calm down. Pro tip: if you rip an ear off they suddenly don't want to fight anymore. I thought men had a code not to pull those parts and pull hair. This dude used it as his first counter. The next day, my scalp was killing me. The asphalt did the most damage. Looked like I wrecked on a skateboard face first. I hissed when someone said hi to me. Oh god. Your comment just reminded me of a horrible memory that I've somehow repressed for nearly 20 years. One time at a family holiday dinner all the kids were watching a movie downstairs. I was like 10 years old and most of my cousins were between the ages of 8 to 16 years old. There were a couple of adults in there watching with us. Someone turned on a VHS tape of George of the Jungle. When the theme song came on, you know the classic George of the Jungle. For some reason my brain thought it would be a good idea to show everyone how funny I was. So I ran across the room on all fours making gorilla noises. When I reached the other side of the room, I looked up and not a single person laughed. They were just blankly staring at me. To make it even worse, I was in a corner of the room and my dumb brain thought that maybe they just didn't see me run like a gorilla and that's why they weren't laughing. So in that moment, to make them realize how funny I am, I doubled down and decided to run back to my seat on all fours again making gorilla noises and this time scratching my armpit in an ape-like fashion. When I sat down, everyone was still not laughing. And now anyone who had any doubt of my stupidity had that doubt completely removed. Dear God, please end my suffering and kill me. Why was I like this as a child? So sorry you were born to a family of mildewy sponges. The first day that I started roofing the machine that kept the tar hot caught on fire, I grabbed on water hose and began to spray. Anyone who knows anything about simple grease fires knows what happened next and this was not a simple grease fire. That was my last day roofing. Former restaurant server on and off throughout undergrad and all of grad school. On busy nights when I was super weeded, so busy you can't even think straight. Every table needs something at once, and the kitchen is yelling for you, and the bar made you the wrong drink and you just got seated again. I would have to fight the urge to just leave. Restaurant owner, me too. There were times I wanted to walk and never look back. Throw a pencil at a friend to ask for help. Got kicked out of the CL but for that, and for what I'd done, I thought it would be funny to throw a small, rolled up piece of paper at my friend when he was arguing with someone in class. He turned around right as I threw it and it somehow perfectly landed in his windpipe. He coughed and tried to get it out. He ended up having to go to the hospital to get it bronchoscopically removed because it had lodged itself in the right lower lobe of his lung. We've been friends for 15 years now. I guess your friend took the whole "that what does not kill me makes me stronger" quote and ran with it is safer to have you on their side. My school did a school shooting practice without warning. Also, in my country there hasn't been a school shooting ever. My school had never done a practice before, and they did not tell us what was happening. Just started pulling kids in classrooms and blocking doors. When it started to dawn on me that we were in what I thought was a school shooting, I wanted to go onto the roof because I thought I was safe there. I would not have been safe there. Why is the first thing our human minds think is let's go through the window? If your plan prior to the drill was to try and get to the roof, it was probably a good thing they did the drill. Stop watching Revenge of the Sith. The high ground isn't always the best. It's over, shooter. I have the high ground. Apostrophe. When I was in high school we had to complete a notebook full of work and get it graded. It was time to hand them in, and my friend wrote penis on the front cover. I panicked and wrote an S in front of it to spell out penis. I'm glad my teacher had a good sense of humor. Haha. Thanks for a good laugh. Toilet at school blocked up. I know school toilets are an absolute mess, but hear me out. I knew I couldn't leave the toilet in that state because I'm not the type of person to just leave problems for the next person in line. Also, I couldn't just leave it there either, in case someone was waiting to use the toilet and they were smart enough to put the pieces of the puzzle together. Anyway, I got a bit stressed out, so I decided to check underneath the cubicle next to me to see if anyone was in there. From what I could see, no one was there, but I wasn't 100% sure. And luckily the toilet seat was up. Once I looked over the edge. Very risky. But luckily no one was there. My plan was to move the blockage from one toilet to the other. Yes, this was a king awful idea. You're probably wondering how I fished the blockage out. Well, let's just say old pencil cases are good for this. Anyway, I picked up the blockage and dumped it in the toilet next to me. In other words, I successfully unblocked a school toilet in the dumbest way possible. For the rest of the day, I was disgusted, but at the same time I knew deep down that I went where no one else would ever dare to go. This is also the story of why I refuse to use public toilets. I mean, at least you unblocked it. In my school we had a toilet that everyone would shut in, and you weren't allowed to flush, so it would pile up. I never shit in school anyway, so I stayed far away from it. Jesus, that sounds awful, LMAO. I can't remember the situation or context at all, and all I remember is that I started Fortnite dancing out of fear. Just learned to moonwalk away like Nick Miller. My hair was getting long. Hard to manage. I was also just stressed in general about school. For some reason I associated these two things and thought getting my head shaved was the answer to all my problems. I actually went ahead with it. Did you feel better at first? Or was it instant regret? I DK about op, but I had very long hair and cut it very short, and it feels like trash. It's way too big of a change in a short amount of time. I had a full-on panic attack. Thought it would be smart to lock myself in the half bathroom. I ended up on the toilet for 3 hours until my wife came home from work, still in full-blown manic mode. She tried to unlock the door. The handle came apart. I'm losing it, and I can't get off the toilet. To help me see, my legs are asleep from sitting on it for the last 3 hours. We look back and look at our security footage, and it looks like Keystone cops watching her trying to help me, and we both get a good chuckle from it now. Was there no room to stand? He had no legs. During the initial stage of an anaphylactic shock from my nut allergy, I didn't want to kill the vibe of the party I was at. So I told my friends I wasn't feeling well and left. Everyone tried to help, but I insisted I was just tired. Called 911 about 2 minutes on my walk back home, when I realized it was a much worse reaction that practically paralyzed me on the sidewalk. How terrifying. Shaving all my hair off. I was a depressed teen girl with home problems. Turned out alright, and I kept it shaved for 6 months. Not me, but my dad. We're Australian and drive on the left side of the road. While driving in Germany, he turned onto the wrong side of the road. He pulled over, with the car still facing the wrong way, and instead of just turning around, lifted the hood of the car so that it would look like he'd pulled over with car troubles instead. Stood there for several minutes before finally leaving. That was supposed to somehow mitigate the embarrassment of driving on the wrong side of the road. The vehicle equivalent of doing push-ups after falling on your face. I was being followed by some random creep who, no matter where I turned, kept following me after I got off school. So you wanna know what my brain told me to do? I started doing the JoJo torture dance and played the music to the mass. I can't make this shit up. My reasoning was just if I'm going to die to some random creep, I'ma die doing something I love. Did he leave you alone after that? I'm still here pieing this, aren't I? Maybe it was my smooth moves that got him to leave. After all, one could only look at the glorious torture dance for so long. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe for more videos.